All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty fascinating, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we're looking at Taiwan's forests,
Oh, wow.
and you know how complex that is.
Yeah.
All those issues, it's a lot. We've
Yeah.
got this document, it's titled Tulu.pdf, and
Okay.
it's amazing, actually. It really takes a look at all the challenges, the problems that Taiwan's facing when it comes to forest development
Right.
and, ecological damage, the impact on indigenous people,
Mhm.
all of that. But what's cool is that it doesn't just stop there.
Ah,
It also presents this whole vision for what the future could look like.
I see. Well, that's promising. Well, what I find interesting is how this document, brings all these different issues together.
Yeah,
Environmental concerns, economic pressures, and then indigenous culture. It's like it shows just how interconnected everything is in Taiwan.
absolutely. And it doesn't shy away from the problems either. It talks about mountain development and how the demand for land is just leading to more and more forests being developed,
Hmm.
whether it's for roads
Hmm.
or tourist destinations, it's impacting the forests.
Why are these forests so vulnerable in the first place, though?
Well, Taiwan's forests are incredibly biodiverse. They
Yeah.
play such an important role in the ecosystem,
Right.
but they're also on like these steep mountain slopes, which means they're very susceptible to landslides and erosion if they're not, properly managed.
I see.
And of course, the rapid economic growth that Taiwan's experienced, well, it's kind of fueled this push for development. And often that's at the expense of environmental protection.
It's like a trade-off.
Exactly.
So the document really highlights the destruction of natural habitats.
Yeah.
And it's not just bad for the ecosystem.
No.
This is having a huge impact on the indigenous people who have lived in these forests for centuries. It's
Right.
like their entire way of life is being threatened. Absolutely. Many indigenous communities in Taiwan, they have this deep spiritual connection to the forests. Their knowledge, their traditions, it's all rooted in sustainability and understanding the balance of nature. But when development comes in, it disrupts all of that.
And leads to a loss of knowledge.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
practices, the knowledge that's been passed down for generations, it's at risk of being lost.
It sounds like their cultural identity is at stake.
It is.
But, like we said, the document doesn't just focus on the negative.
No, it doesn't.
It lays out some really clear goals for a more positive future.
Okay.
Stronger regulations, for one.
Like what?
Things like stricter forest protection laws.
Makes sense. It actually specifically mentions a regulation that would require environmental impact assessments.
Oh, interesting.
So before any development projects can even happen in forest areas, they'd have to consider the ecological impact.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah?
It also emphasizes the importance of oversight, making sure that these laws are actually being enforced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Protecting both the ecosystem and the people living within it.
That's a critical point. It even suggests things like increasing funding and staffing for environmental protection agencies.
Makes sense.
But it goes beyond that. It actually talks about involving indigenous communities in the decision-making process.
Oh.
Because, they have this traditional knowledge.
Yeah.
They understand these ecosystems better than anyone. Their knowledge should be a part of these conservation efforts.
It's like recognizing that they're not just stakeholders, they're experts.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole aspect of cultural preservation.
Yeah.
Like the document really recognizes the value of indigenous culture, not just in itself, but as a model for how to live more harmoniously with nature.
It talks about specific practices, like agroforestry,
Oh, right.
where they actually integrate trees into farming systems.
Interesting.
And that helps maintain soil health, prevent erosion. It even promotes biodiversity. It's like seeing these cultures not as victims, but as holding solutions. Solutions that Taiwan could use to build a more sustainable future.
Almost like the document is saying, look to the past for the answers to the future.
Right.
And then it kind of shifts gears and takes us on this visual journey.
Oh, yeah.
It paints these two contrasting scenes, the present reality
Mm-hmm.
and this vision of what could be.
I like that.
Yeah, it starts off by describing deforestation, soil erosion, just a struggling ecosystem.
Yeah.
It even uses this really striking image
Okay.
of traditional indigenous symbols, but carved onto tree stumps.
Oh, wow.
It's powerful, It's
Yeah.
like it shows the disconnect between what we know and what we're actually doing.
Yeah, it's like a visual representation of so much more than just the loss of trees.
And then there's this image of gathering storm clouds.
Yeah,
That feels significant.
definitely. That's like the looming threat of climate change
Right.
and extreme weather. But then we get to the visionary scenes and it's like,
It's hopeful.
Yeah.
We see a revitalized forest, trees are thriving, the ecosystem is balanced. There's this picture of indigenous people, carrying out their traditional ceremonies in this healthy environment.
Passing down their heritage.
Exactly. And it ends with this powerful image of sunlight, like breaking through the leaves.
Beautiful.
It's like a symbol of hope for a future where humans and nature can coexist, where indigenous knowledge is valued and used to create a more sustainable Taiwan.
That's a great image to end on.
And then we get to these contrasting slogans.
Okay.
The present slogans, things like forests in peril, broken roots, vanishing green, they're almost desperate sounding. But then the future slogans, a greener future, hope grows here, embracing nature, honoring tradition, they're filled with optimism.
It's a stark contrast. Like, the present is dire, but the future is full of possibility if we act.
What stood out to you the most from all of this?
I think for me, it's how Taiwan's story really reflects this global struggle.
Between
Development and preservation, it happens everywhere.
It does.
And it highlights how important it is to bring in indigenous knowledge to our approaches to conservation. We often talk about green solutions,
Yeah.
but true sustainability means recognizing the wisdom of those who have lived in harmony with nature for generations.
Wow, this is really giving me a lot to think about. It makes me wonder, what can we do, even as individuals, even if we're far away from Taiwan? How can we support these goals?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that we're all connected, whether it's reducing our own environmental impact, advocating for policies that protect forests and indigenous cultures.
Right.
There's a lot we can do. Every small action counts.
This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. It's a reminder that the choices we make, even the small ones, can contribute to a greener, more sustainable future, not just for Taiwan, but for everyone.
Exactly.